Well, there's no place quite like home, and for IndyCar, there's no place like Indianapolis Motor Speedway. In May, we run the oval counterclockwise, but in January, we run it clockwise on the road course. This is the third round of the Catalyst 317 Indy Elite Series. Kyle Iyer joined by Vinny DeCuna tonight for the third round of this championship, and it's been all Brandon Treno so far. 2 races, 2 wins for that driver, but we enter the road course section now here, at least for the first time this season, and things are going to get pretty wild, I imagine, with that tight turn 1 we always see.
Yeah, things are going to be very interesting to see how they play out now, switching to the first road course of the season after 2 ovals at Homestead Miami and at Gateway. But of course, as you mentioned, Brandon Treno is doing the best he can. 2 wins to start off the season, while drivers are hoping it might be a little bit different. There might be a little bit closer of a battle. It's so far looking much like Brandon Treno is going to be carrying this away for the rest of the season, but we'll see. Can tonight change? Like he's mentioned, turn 1, something catastrophic could happen, and we could see the championship picture already change up early on.
Yeah, turn 1 and turn 7 and turn 12, all those pinch points here. This is a fun place. The oval originally built in 1909. The road course has seen some variation over the season, or over the years rather, but 2.6 mile road course, 14 corners here, counter to that number 13 you see on the graphics there. But we'll head down to the racetrack for qualifying here momentarily, and again, this is where you're going to get on those red tires and try to make as much speed as you can and get yourself as far forward on the grid as possible to stay out of the melee on that opening lap.
Absolutely. As you head down to qualifying, a couple of drivers already out there on the racetrack starting their first lap. First of 3 laps is what these drivers have available for them, so definitely plenty of time, chances to get out there and get a lap down. There's Christian Steele we're looking at in the number 2 machine, working his way around the racetrack. So far this season, not the best of starts for Christian Steele, although he has only had 1 start. I believe only started his first race back at Gateway for round number 2. Finished 9th, but again, he's looking at trying to have another chance at the championship. 2 wins to his name last season, but it came short of getting to Treno's number towards the end of the season. He's really cutting it. These guys are taking the most curve they can. They are really playing with track limits.
You know, it actually helped the car rotate quite a bit. He grabbed the grass on the inside there and whipped the car around. Might have lost a little bit of forward drive through that section, but you have to be aggressive over those flat curbs. These are the ones you want to stay away from, though. The apex curbs at 1, 7, and 12, they will get you in big trouble with these cars. And Steele works his way around the 2.6 mile 14 turn road course up onto the front straightaway towards the yard of bricks. And we'll start seeing lap times come across the board. Adam Blocker was the quickest. Brandon Treno quickly jumped to the top, and he will come to a stop.
See if he can keep that number 9 car on pole position. See if anyone else is going to be taking it away from him. As more and more times come across, Adam Blocker up there in 2nd place. That's always a driver you want to keep an eye out for in the 74. Looking at David Adams in the 00. He's working his way to the first part of the racetrack.
I love this next section. Turns 5 and 6, this left-right flick. It's a lot more fun in a GT car where you don't have to worry about pounding that curb so much. Run all the way out to the edge of the road and then down towards turn 7. Another great passing opportunity down here. I think you really, have a few passing opportunities here in an Indy car, but it can be tricky to set them up with the traction zones beforehand. So as Adams works his way now through 8, 9, and 10, Seb Alexander comes across the line, and that is it's like a warm-up. That's a 1:22.946. We're looking at times under 1:10 at the moment.
Yeah, either that or maybe had an off-track or a spin. I saw a couple drivers have a spin or a loop in their first lap, I think pushing a little bit too hard. That's the big thing, too, is also making sure you get some heat in these tires before you start leaning on them too much.
I should say that if you lowered that drone shot about 15 feet, that's almost exactly what SRO had for the Indianapolis 8-hour.
Are we going to get another copyright strike?
Yeah, maybe. It was funny. I just did a race the other day at Road Atlanta and got copyright stricken by NASCAR Media Group for apparently having broadcast footage from the 2017 Petit Le Mans. So
I just love how specific that is too as well.
Yeah. So that was a really entertaining moment. But yeah, the Indianapolis 8-hour, that was a really cool opportunity for me. But they had a drone shot there, which they typically don't do for their North American broadcasts, and it was a tracking shot from turn 2 to turn 5. And it was a really cool shot. I actually posted a video of it on Instagram and shared it with their account. And it was one of the most successful reels that they had all in the last couple of months.
Oh, wow.
Almost as successful as Keanu Reeves in a GR86, so I'll take that. There's Andrew Wood, by the way.
Andrew in 64 working his way around. He's also had an issue on his opening lap. Looking to get a quicker time in. course, this quick left-right chicane, that could also be a trouble spot, especially if you get two drivers side by side. Someone's got to give.
So one of the other things I learned recently, and I hadn't touched iRacing in quite some time. It's been a nice little break, actually, from the broadcasts we've done in the past 7 years. But one of the new things from the recent build was the reconstruction of the particle system, grass, gravel, dirt, debris, smoke model. And we found out the other day watching at Road Atlanta that all that gravel really does make a difference now. I always felt like it didn't have as much of an effect, and marbles in particular are a really big deal. And so we'll have to keep an eye on track conditions here. This is our first road course race of the season, and especially in turn 8 where you documented, I think it was, who was that earlier, that was cutting the track in a pretty big way. That is something.
Steel, I think.
Steel, yeah. That's something to keep an eye on if they keep dragging grass and mud back onto the racetrack.
Looking there, that is, who is that? 1737.
Honda in the 37.
Yes. Working his way around. He's not got a whole lot of time left there. I think he's working to complete his first lap.
Get time to complete. His first lap actually was a discontinuity. This lap 2 recorded for him. Little curb jump there at turn 12, and we'll see what he's got. This will be his last opportunity to put a time on the board.
I was saying that he was closing on his time, but he actually does have quite a bit of time. I keep forgetting lap times are quick, 1 minute 9s, 1 minute 10s.
We want to go better than that, 19.4. Last of the cars that have recorded a time so far.
Yeah, I think that was probably an off track somewhere. Looking back, that's Christian Steele. No, that's not Christian Steele. That is...
It was Steele, but he was coming to a stop, so we'll jump on board with Alex Van de Sant in the Power Slide Motorsports number 96, currently scored in 6th. 97 thousandths off of Luis Nunez in the number 10, riding in 5th right now.
Yeah, and Van de Sant, he's disappointed. Probably what could have been a win in the opening race at Homestead Miami. Unfortunately, got caught up in a wreck and ended up finishing near the back of the field. Actually, I'm trying to feel like I'm mistaken. Either he was in a wreck or he was in a wreck. There was another driver that had a speeding penalty. Oh, Hamilton Akabueze, he got a speeding penalty and never recovered from that. He was another potential winner at Homestead Miami. Yeah,
so I guess that's a thing to consider when you head back to the road courses. You control your destiny a little more, right? Those ovals.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely cause more strife to groups of cars than you'll see at a road course, although we did mention the trouble spot at turn 1. I mean, just look at this is like one of those corners that is just designed to crunch cars. It's like Coda turn 1. They designed it to cost millions of dollars every time you go through there.
Ask Kyle Larson.
Yeah. Oh, man. Whoa, big wiggle for Akabueze. That was a huge moment there coming through turns 5 and 6. He'll bail out on that lap. Have a look at this. He was already a little wide
through there
and just got up on the curb once and then had it already sort of pitched sideways. Oh man, look, quick hands inside that car.
Yeah, that corner is really tricky, especially proceeding and, if you get a little bit too offline, if you don't have yourself set up, it can get very awkward. So you're trying to get a little bit more right, but doesn't have enough time. I'd love to see that.
That'll wake you up if you were falling asleep at 7 p.m. Eastern on a Sunday night. Seb Alexander on the backstretch right now. Currently scored 10th. Woo, big pitch into turn 7. And it gripped.
Oh, he will save it.
He's on the black tire, actually.
I was gonna say, that's the interesting thing, and I'm pretty sure that they are set to start on the tire they qualify on. Otherwise, I don't really see the reason to go on there in primaries. So he is the one of the few drivers thing we're seeing go out there to start on the primary tires.
The Alliance Racing driver, and this is the first time, of course, this season we've had to contend with the alternate tire variant. Oh, right out to the edge of the grass. Across the stripe for Alexander. This is not going to be a pickup. It's a 1:12.333, so a little off of his best of a 1:10.506. With that complete, I think all of the drivers have run all the laps that they can run. And 30 seconds left. Here's a look at your qualifying results.
Yeah, Brandon Trano up there on pole. Not too far behind is Adam Blocker, Christian Steele, Hamilton Akabueze, Luis Nunez. That's a solid top 5. They're all very close, all within a 10.5 of each other. So that could be potentially very interesting, and I'm kind of hoping so. Otherwise, you might see Brandon Trano get win number 3 of the season in 3 races.
Looking down the rest of the order here briefly. Julian Altina, Andrew Marquez, Rashad Craig, just for Orman, Mark Murphy rounding out your top 15. Qualifying complete there, 29 drivers registered for this one. Have a quick look here at our Indianapolis Motor Speedway track map here. 14 corners. It all starts with that run down to that evil turn 1 that we talked about. 2, 3, and 4, sweeping left, very flat, a little off camber. 5 and 6, flick left, flick right, down to turn 7 on Holman Boulevard. Great passing opportunity there. Back single file for 8, 9, 10. And then if you can get a pass done into 12, you're home free for that front straight out of turn 14.
Yeah, absolutely. And the big thing, too, to keep out for turn 14 is that if these guys don't get their tires worn up on lap 1, we could see guys get spun out there. It's really tough. You think you have a lot of grip, but especially after a pace lap, and only really half a pace lap, they don't have a lot of time to build up heat. So the big thing on these restart and the start, really, I doubt we're going to see a restart, is just making sure you have the tires warmed up, ready to go, and then also just watching out for danger. We talked about turn 1, and then also that quick left-right chicane on the back straightaway.
Now look at the air temp. It is relatively cool out there, 23 degrees Celsius, 38 degrees Celsius track temperature, a little bit warmer, and not so bad on the humidity, not like the 96% we saw in Georgia just the other day. So hopefully a little easier for all the virtual fans that have packed in the grandstands. It's always a sold-out crowd here in Indianapolis in iRacing.
I would hope so. This is an awesome racetrack. I don't see why it shouldn't be sold out every time.
I am one of the few that really likes the Indianapolis road course. Maybe it's just me.
Is that an unpopular thing?
I think anyone that's driven it will tell you that it's not that inspiring, but I had fun. I got a hot lap in a GR86, and I thought it was great. So anyway, let's
put on a great show.
Let's roll through a starting lineup. It's going to be Brandon Treno on the front row. Adam Blocker starts off in second place, trying to wrestle a win away from that number 9.
Christian Steele, Hamilton Akawaze will line up row number 2, 3rd, and 4th. We'll see what they can do in the 2 and the 7, respectively.
5th place, Luis Nunez in the number 10, and Alexander Van de Sant rolls off 6th in the number 96 machine.
Blaze Andrews going to be lined up in 7th place in the number 19. Next to him, Kevin Burrell in the 52. He's rolling off in 8th.
And 9th place, it's Carroll Stout in the number 43. Seb Alexander rolls off 10th in the 49.
Julian Altona, he's lined up in the 11 car and 11th place. Next to him, Andrew Marquez in the 63. He's rolling off in 12th.
13th place, it's Rashad Craig in the number 21. Jesper Orman, 14th, the number 4.
Mark Murphy, he's lined up in 15th in the 69. Next to him, David Adams in the 00. He's rolling off 16th.
And 17th place, it's Andrew Wood in the number 64. Lorenzo Bonder, 18th in that 37 machine.
19th to be AJ Musselman in the 54. Next to him, Wayne Hunter. He's lined up in the 82. He's rolling off in 20th.
And 21st place, it's Christopher. Alexander Ball starts 22nd in the number 12.
Back at 23rd, going to be Tim Holgate in the number 6 machine. Next to him, Paulo Vinicius in the 42. He's rolling off 24th.
And Joe Branch and Hugo Galaz start in 25th and 26th. And rounding out the last couple rows here, Gary Lover, Jacob Esther in the number 16. And then, of course, we've got Craig Forsyth wrapping up the rest of the starting lineup here for the Catalyst 317 Indy Elite Series, round number 3 from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 46 laps around here, under an hour. Quick race tonight. That means that the intensity is on right from the drop of the green flag. Any favorites? You have to look at Brandon Treno as the all-arounder. But can Blocker or steal it away?
I think Blocker definitely be one to look at. Also of note, before we go green, he's going to be starting on the primary tires, one of the highest running drivers on the primary. Most of the field on alternates, and a couple other drivers to see back there also on the Blackwell tires. Should be very interesting on lap 1.
Time to go racing from IMS. In May, we'll be running the other way around. In January, it's a run on the road course. Green flag, and we're underway at the racing capital of the world. Brandon Treno gets a nice launch, goes to cover immediately. Blocker, Steele Akaboyese change lines. Almost 3 abreast there for second place. Big hip check in the background there with the number 11 of Julian Altona in the middle, locked up in the brakes into turn 1.
Very, very tight. Christian Steele trying to take it around the outside, and he cannot get it done on Brandon Treno. Hamilton Akaboyese taking up 3rd, and it is a downward spiral for Adam Blocker. Immediately just not able to get the heat in the tires, get the rotation. He's fighting with Alexander Van de Sant, who will pass him through the chicane as they head through there for the first time.
Really dicey stuff through the chicane in that opening lap. It's hard to do side by side. There's Altona in the number 11 on the attack there. The 74 of Blocker is just losing positions left and right. Big send into turn 7 and a slip.
I was going to say that was overcommitment there. Just doesn't have the grip to work with. Cutting through the grass, going to try to get back out there. He's going to have to serve a slowdown penalty. Not sure how aggressive it's going to be. He's trying to keep the damage to a minimum. Kevin Burrell, as well as that is Carroll Stout, also working their way past, and he's continuing to drop down the order. Going to try to work around the outside, deep in the braking zone again. He will have to sit in behind for now.
Yeah, tires are hot, covered in grass. It's going to be a little bit more of a slide, I imagine, before he'll be able to right the ship. Jacob Oster in the number 16 to the inside, or outside of Musselman rather, in that 54. But lap 1 is complete, and Brandon Treno leads Steele by 0.4 of a second.
Yeah, they are all nose to tail in behind Treno. Steele, Acablaze, and Nunez, your top 4. A little bit of a breakaway. Blaze Andrich trying to work through the inside of Anderson. He will do so. He will take 5th place away from him. And we go back to Adam Blocker. And also a big thing we have to mention, too, we didn't really get to talk about it before, is the change to the push-to-pass. We have the more modern version of push-to-pass as compared to season pass. Instead of just 10 uses where you get a couple seconds worth out of each usage, now we have seconds to use for these drivers. You can use a little bit of spurts here and there over the course of the race.
I don't know if I have that information on my dashboard, so that's going to be hard for me to keep up with. Big send from, whoa, that was a huge send there. Was that...
Oh, Blocker around.
Oh, this has just gone from bad to worse for Adam Blocker.
And you know, funny enough, we were talking about before the debris on the racetrack. I noticed that he went through a patch of it before he broke loose.
He's trailing in behind the 11 of Altena, just gets in behind him and just had the car a little bit pitched sideways, and it just stepped out on him.
Yeah, I was watching his onboard, and I saw there's a bit of dirt already on the racetrack, and he caught up there while he's already had a lot of commitment on the tires, and it just gave way for him. So he's back down running in 18th, 19th place.
Andrew Wood on pit lane here early. Strategy component, or is there something else going on here?
I'm trying to see. He is on the primary, so I'm wondering if this is him saying, get me off these tires ASAP, because it does seem a lot of these drivers just really, really struggling to get the grip up there on these on the primary tires.
Adam Blocker is just pushing so hard to make up what he's lost. Watch this as he comes through turns 2 and 3. Little hip check there. And then watch how close he gets to sending this thing into the gravel, right to the edge of the road. That was awful close. This is just one of those moments where you just have to stop the bleeding and stop. It's a little bit flaily at this stage, right? Like just trying to stop the wounds, but causing more in the process, I think. But it's going to be a lot harder of a race to win from where he is now versus second place where he started.
Taking a look in behind Alexander Van de Sant. We've got Julian Altena coming up from behind him from 9th place.
Swing out to the right for pass into turn 1. This should be nice and tidy. Well, who's later on the brakes, though? It is Altena. Does he get it slowed down? Locks it up, and Van de Sant crosses over.
He's coming back on him. He's trying to see now, can he get him around the outside heading to the next corner? I don't think he'll be able to maintain there. No, Van de Sant will get ahead. Great fight for position.
To reset, Seb Alexander watching, licking his lips from 10th place as they navigate through the chicane. A nice run there for Altena through that 5-6 complex. He might have a run into 7.
He's on the push to pass, looking to the outside, trying to see if he can keep that car around deep on the brakes. Gonna pinch Van de Sant to the apex. Now he's gonna get pinched to the next series of corners, and it's gonna be Altena that'll win on through.
Nice pass. Nicely done. Good, fair, clean racing between those two as well. Jacob Oster chasing Mark Murphy in the 69. This is a battle for 13th place.
And a dive to the inside. Opens up the door. Mark Murphy trying to defend in a 13th place. Oster trying to see if he can do the switchback.
Always impressed with the aggression that these drivers can show with such fragile bodywork on the noses. And he's like, look at Murphy through the grass at the exit of 14.
He was trying to push it through there. He might have pushed a little bit too much. Here comes Oster with the run. The drag race down to turn 1. And who's going to be deeper and braver on the brakes is going to be Oster that'll sail on through. I think Murphy felt better to let him on through. He's a little bit faster at this stage of the race.
Van de Sant right back on the tailpipes of Julian Altena now. If he'll get back on the button, maybe use some push to pass. But Altena gets such a good run out of 4 and through the chicane that might be where he's so much better than Van de Sant.
Yeah, I'm just wondering for all Van de Sant, is it worth pushing too hard? Because again, remember he's on the slower tire. He's obviously probably going to try to only run one stint with this. And we have to see really how the fall off is with the alternate. I don't think it should be too bad. Ooh, that's Tim Holgate in the wall.
Yeah, he's gone around at.
And that's after the chicane,
6.
I believe.
Yeah.
And did he get a little bit too much curve here?
Just got a bad bounce.
Oh yeah, it's a decent look.
That will be enough, I would think. And Asant right back on Altona and going for a look, and Altona goes to cover, chases him over to the right. There's almost contact, and Altona sends it deep into one on defense.
Oh man, that really makes you hold your breath. We went in there side by side deep. And again, we talked about the aggression, and it's a lot of respect still between these drivers, which is what we'd love to see. And a lot of trust as well to go that side by side. They almost clipped each other's wings on the tire, and they're still not done yet. Here comes Van de Sant looking to the left-hand side, a little bit off the track, but it's definitely still valid up there. And here he goes. Now look to the inside. Can he hold it there? Will he have enough grip? Gasses it, slides in front. That's a slide job on a road course with an Indy car.
That was impressive. And again, he's on the black tire versus the alternates that Altona's on, so he has less lateral grip, but he just committed in a bigger way and stole the spot back. Now Seb Alexander smells blood in the water. He's a hungry shark at the moment, running P10.
Well, the more laps they run, the more that the black tires will catch up to the red tires, so I think that's where Van de Sant's looking for that crossover point. Still think we're a little bit too early on in the run, but we'll see how much he can go with. And you mentioned Seb Alexander closing in from behind and taking a little bit of grass. These guys are running really close to that grass on the exit. Makes me nervous.
Racing line's wrong. I go here now. Alex Ball and Hugo Galaz. This is for 22nd. Hugo on the outside, Ball on the inside, and we'll tuck back in line, single file back out. No change up front, though. It's been all Brandon Treno so far.
Yeah, it's been very quiet, but it's not over yet. Christian Steele has kept in tab with Brandon Treno. He's not really, I don't think he's lost him past a second since the drop of a green flag. There's a bit of separation between Steele and Akboise and Nunes, but they're still close.
Alexander Van de Sant lost a couple of spots just now, and it just stolen the position back from Julian Altona, and here's what just happened. Bad bounce on the curb.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, he had such a great run, and he worked really hard to get ahead of Altona. Unfortunately, lost 1, 2, 3 spots in the process.
Right back on their gearboxes here, so see how long it takes them to repass these cars.
Well, the thing is that, remember that he's done his stint on the primary, so he can switch off to the faster alternates for the rest of the race. And I expect these guys are going to make at least 2 pit stops. So that's 2 stints that he's going to be on the faster tire, and everyone else is going to have to suffer on the primary. So and it's going to be a big adjustment from so much grip on the alternates via dive. Using that grip, there is Oster working his way past Alexander, and he will move up into the top 10 for the first time.
Alexander was a little wide at the exit at 2. That allowed Van de Sant to close back in. Now we've seen a couple of cars take that bad, nasty bounce off the right-hand curb there, and like that. That's what I was going to point out is when you're running in anger, you can't get too aggressive over that.
I'm amazed Alexander didn't get a black flag for cutting the course there as Van de Sant makes a dive up the inside and will throw his car on through.
He was on the button there on the backstretch, didn't want to waste the opportunity. Adam Blocker, 14th place. He has had a day so far. Caught Andrew Marquez for 13th.
A couple of drivers using some push to pass. Trying to see, the leaders really haven't touched it at all. Brandon Treno's used 5 seconds of it, Steele about 19. I think the biggest user, Blaze Andretz, he's down to 154 of 200 seconds.
Ooh, big wiggle there through 14. That's always a nervous moment. That turn is tricky even in GT cars. You're accelerating out of there full throttle, and it's just not quite banked enough to leave it full commitment through there, so it is just a nervous moment. Altona now under fire from Oster.
Who has him behind Blocker, made a pass. Up 1 spot for him.
On Andrew Marquez.
And Oster all over the rear wing of Altona. And Altona's kind of developed a little bit of a train behind him, so he's kind of the cork in the bottle. Oster trying to see if he can pop it. Makes a look to the inside and dives to the inside.
Leaves a wide berth there, a little in the marbles, which, again, that was something I pointed out at the top of the show. Look, they are collecting there now. And that's as a passing zone, you're going to find yourself offline there for being overtaken. So only one driver has come to pit lane so far that wasn't for crash damage. That was Andrew Wood in 28th. He has done his service on the black tire. Now he's back on the reds, but has to make them last quite some time. As I say that, looks like Blaze Andretz in the number 19 is maybe the second taker on pit road. Also on the, well, he's on the red tire, actually.
Yeah, this is interesting because these guys should be able to go at least, I want to say 16-ish laps So that should be enough to cover this race in 3 stints, but some drivers coming in early. There is Blocker making another move. That's on Rayshot Craig. He'll move up another spot. And then now facing the group of Seb Alexander and Alexander Van de Sande, all 3 of which are on the primary tires.
You get a little lazier through that chicane as the race goes on. You get more confident. I don't think we've seen the last incident over there.
No, absolutely not, especially towards the later part of the race when everyone starts to get even more aggressive. You always think, I could take, if I back this up a little bit this way, if I turn it a little bit sooner this time, and then you end up flying around the other direction.
That complex leading up to it reminds me a lot of Mid-Ohio, where you're leaving turn 5 at Madness, and you come not all the way to the right because you're setting up for turn 6, and if you track out, there's not enough racetrack to get back all the way over in a natural way, and I think that area is like that too. You leave turn 4, and you don't necessarily want to track all the way out to the curb because it leaves you too shallow of a line to effectively straight line that 5-6 chicane.
Here we go, potentially 2 battles down the front straight away. Alexander Van de Sande once again on Julian Altona. He will have a late look off to the right-hand side. Blocker will definitely have a dive on Seb Alexander, and he will get 1 more spot.
It's like synchronized passes there for a moment. They both popped out at the same time. Altona has just got his gearbox packed full of Van de Sande. Heard that lift as he climbed over the curb.
You want to be careful, you never know, depending on how the car reacts off the bump. And here goes Van de Sande with another look. Altona off to the right.
Yeah, it's getting harder. It's getting harder to hang on the outside there because of those marbles.
And that's what I love, is that this update definitely made it much sketchier to be offline. It's not just like, it's not just a minor inconvenience anymore. It's a severe lack of grip.
Yeah, same with the gravel and grass and mud. I think that all looks a lot nicer.
Oh, hello. In behind Blocker, Alexander had 1 dive to the outside. Now he actually is going to get potentially overtaken by Rayshot Craig trying to make the move and take advantage of the situation, and he will not go side by side through turn 14.
Oh, he's out in the marbles leaving 14 there, though. That was a little dicey. Keeps it on the road, though. If Rayshot Craig gets on the button, he will not.
Going to use good old slipstream to catch up, and will stay in behind.
Wayne Hunter, Hugo Galaz, this is for 20th. A lot of passing today.
Yeah, I mean, again, I really feel like also part of that, too, is the change in the push-to-pass as well, because you no longer have to make a huge commitment of 1 usage out of your 10 that you had prior. Now, you just get a couple seconds, you just need 3 or 5 seconds to boost out of the corner, or if you really want to commit to the overtake, you can use a lot of it. It gives you more options for these drivers, and I think that's where they're definitely taking advantage of.
I really like that adjustment. It was about time that the IndyCar really got some attention.
Oh, it wasn't about time. It was way overdue. It was so overdue.
Imagine 6 years ago, rescanned Watkins Glen and updated IndyCar. Kyle and Finney would be so happy. Well, yeah, anyway.
Simple demands. And even Watkins Glen, too, got a massive update for this last season.
Yes.
Not massive, but I got quite a few things.
Curbs and the grass and...
Compared to the other tracks, it got looked at quite a bit. Got quite a few adjustments. I almost wondered if you were knocking on the door.
I didn't even know. I updated iRacing 2 days ago, so that's how in the loop I was about what was going on. It felt good to disconnect for a little while, but it has been fun to be back for a couple of days. Get back on the horse. That's all I ever do. So if you don't have friends, you just bully the internet into being your friend.
We can see he had a blocker trying to be a bully here towards Julian Altona as he's caught up. He's his next potential victim as he tries to claw back up the order. And it's amazing. Look at the level of grip that he has. Almost a complete flip from what we saw at the beginning of the race. And I think that's because we're starting to knock on the door of the first round of pit stops as Blocker has a look to the inside. I think Altona knows not much worth of a fight, and he'll let him on through up to 9th for Blocker.
Futile fight there, I think, for sure. So Blocker back up onto turn 14. Jacob Oster is on the pit lane, lap 14, and he is on the alternate. So we'll see if he elects to put the primaries on or his secondary set of the red tire.
And Altona keeping in behind the 74.
think that's wise, just to be patient. I mean, Blocker was quicker. He out-qualified you. I think you can learn a lot by following him right now, especially now that he's cooled off a little from the melee in the early moments.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all about, it's a long race still ahead. We're only lap 14 of 46. I mean, it's only 38 minutes of racing remaining, but it's still a long ways to go for these drivers.
Yeah, these are short races relative to what we typically broadcast, but these are intense.
Yeah, effectively a sprint race because there's no chance of a caution, no chance of a breakup. So you make a mistake like what we saw with Blocker, I kind of think, had a chance of him getting the win. Might not be on the cards now. We'll have to see how the rest of the race plays out. As look at Craig Forsythe down the order in 21st.
I used this analogy the other day in the 4-hour race, but these races, they're long, but they're not that long. It's like when you owe someone money. It's like $100 is not a lot of money to have, but it's a lot of money to owe somebody.
That is good. That is really good. As Brandon Traino makes a trip down to pit lane, and I think so does Christian Steele. So both of them coming in. Actually, quite a few drivers see coming in. Lap 15 knocking on the door. That's kind of what I was expecting these drivers to come on down. Yeah,
this is effectively right in the first third of the race, so splitting it into equal segments, it appears. I don't think that'll end that way, but mathematically, this is how you do it if all the tires were the same. Over there is Seb Alexander and Rashad Craig.
Oh, and interesting is that Brandon Traino and Steele both went on the primaries. And Hamilton on Blaze behind them has not, so he might actually pass them the stint.
Traino had gotten reeled in a little at the tail end of that run. Ooh, big lunge underneath Paulo Vinicius. We'll let him go.
Yeah, I'm definitely wanting to watch how Traino and Steele manage on the primaries. I expect them to manage well, but they are going to be slow, especially after you get into that rhythm with the alternates. You have to kind of readjust, retrain your brain a little bit to deal with the lack in grip.
Yeah, and Steele lost a bunch of time in pit lane. 0.4 of a second in pit road, so that's going to cost him quite a bit of time on the racetrack.
He spent an extra 4 seconds in the box, so I think that's extra fuel for him. Oh, Steele off the track. Oh, there he goes. Yep. That's what I was kind of waiting for one of them to do. And here comes Hamilton Akawaze knocking the door saying, hello, good sir.
And his tires are still going to be mad at him for that, so turn 14 will be a struggle. You see him still kicking grass up here. Akawaze's got a nice big run. He'll go driver's left and power around the Team I-5G car.
Yeah, I'm wondering how much Christian Steele's trying to fight this. I think he is. He's on the push to pass. They're neck and neck down to turn 1. Neither driver wants to get the spot. Deep in the brakes for both of them.
Oh.
Once again, Steele has no grip and pushes Akawaze off the track.
I don't think Akawaze will be stoked about that either. Kept the nose in there just to let him know he didn't appreciate that, but just got in there a little hot. Thank goodness for that little extra bit of payment that they give you.
Oh, I may want to cut back live. Here they go. Round number 2, heading down into the next corner. And here goes Akawaze with a big dive because he knows he can commit. And Steele's going to have to back off and surrender that spot.
And this is that slalom section where those stickier tires will absolutely be advantageous.
And Alexander Van de Sande in pit lane. He's gone 16 laps to completion on his tires. I'm sure he cannot wait to get rid of them.
Look on the left are the pit stops. Those with a 1 have already been on pit lane. Those with a 0 have yet to be there. It's about 40% takers so far, but we're going to see that number go up quite a ways this time. So what does Adam Blocker do strategy-wise? He got put way back in track position. Is there anything he can do in the pit lane to potentially steal some spots back?
Get off the primaries, obviously, because he's only going to be on them for this stint, I would imagine. I would be surprised if he takes a second stint on them, especially how they treated him. So he's going to probably go alternates, I would imagine, the next 2. And then just, pedals on the right, go pedals on the right, and then hit the push to pass button a little bit more. He's actually been using it quite a bit. He's used up 60 seconds. Everyone else in the realm of around 20 to 30 seconds by comparison around him. So, and he's been making good use of it, trying to get through traffic, and he's made up quite a bit of ground. And he actually continues on another lap, so he's going to go 18 laps, which I think is just about the limit. That's really pushing it on the limit for fuel.
I haven't watched these cars race on a road course in quite some time, but and you've likely driven it a lot more recently than I have. It looks like you can pitch it around a lot more aggressively than you could before. and it just seems like it rotates and responds so much snappier than it used to. It just looks like a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. These cars are a lot of fun to throw around a road course. The racing, you can argue, is a little bit iffy, you know, especially when you come to get to tracks like Mid-Ohio or Barber, where there's a lot of dirty air, but you get the right group of drivers, which is what we have here, and you get a great show. As we look at Burrell trying to make a move, he's working on, who's that in front of him? That is Andrich.
There's Andrich in the number 19, the black and yellow car. The other, more different black and yellow car behind him is working over all the gravel in 5.
Car.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you can see a lot of drivers have been very iffy on the track limits there.
Yeah. Burrell on the attack here, really late on the brakes.
And I think he's trying to push because he knows that he can really try to get around because Andrew is on the slower tire. He's on the faster tire, so he's going to try to push this a little bit harder.
On the button. Just for a moment. Really big send.
Dive. Wow. Late dive. He has the grip to make it stick, and off he will go. One more spot.
That caught Andrich by surprise and kind of put him in the dirt a little bit, but didn't force him off. Definitely caught him off guard there, though.
And finally, Andrew Blocker in for his pit stop.
Brandon Traino.
Oh, Christian Steele is in the pit lane. He's been there for 2 minutes.
That is not ideal. How much damage does he have?
I'm trying to see what happened. Oh, he had a run-in with someone. A 42, it seemed, out of turn 3. Yep, right there.
And that, we just saw that 42 leave the box just now. So what happened? This was a lap car. The Steele. Oh, the 42 just kicked sideways.
Oh, man.
That's
that really sucks.
Yeah. That will likely end Steele's day. He might get back out there, but without a chance for a yellow, it's going to be a long day. Alexander Van de Sand down the inside of Oster, waiting for nobody, and Oster had to bail out.
A lot of drivers, actually quite a few drivers electing to go on primaries for this stint, and I think a lot of them starting to struggle. We're seeing Oscar dealing with that. Not only just going on a little bit too hot in and offline, but then collecting the marbles, and here comes Adam Blocker.
Blocker almost tagged Oster, and he's in too deep.
Off the track. A little bit too deep of a dive there.
So deep of a dive, I think his diving helmet caved in. That was gonna get the, what's the, when you come up from deep water?
The bends?
Bends.
Yes.
So the bends have been a struggle for him today. Sorry. It's right there.
That's a good one. I like
just
it.
not Adam Blocker's day. I think he'll admit that later.
No. Well, here's potential. Actually, never mind. I thought it was going to be a run for the lead, but not quite yet. Similar looking car to Brandon Traino.
Blocker pass Oster now. Yeah, I've been watching Akabueze. Last time by was 4/10 quicker than Brandon Traino, but now has traffic to contend with. This is that 42 car that we saw involved in the incident with Christian Steele. So he raced him in there, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And he was hoping that he would give it up a little bit sooner. And now Akabueze going to try to set his sights on Brandon Traino. Of course, for Akabueze, he still has to get on the primaries. Traino is getting that stint out of the way. And has got a solid lead. And really for the 9, as they run, it looks like it's going to take a lot to make him fall from that top spot.
Well, we could see lap traffic play a factor. I'm impressed that there's still 23 cars on the lead lap almost halfway through this race. And the Sand is showing the nose in the rearview mirror. Look how late on the brakes he can go in comparison to Carroll Stout.
He's really pushing on the back of the 43. And keeping a little bit tighter through there, and then now the run through the chicane. And do we see any push to pass? Van de Sand's on it. So is Stout. And Van de Sand's going to stay on it a little bit longer, has the look, and is going to sail past Stout, who looks like he'll give up the spot.
Adam Blocker in shallow water, smells the blood from the seal. Here comes the 74 up the inside at 9, at 10. That's really sketchy, and Stout runs out to the grass.
That was a late dive, but he makes it work. He felt he can commit to it, and I think caught Stout napping. Well, up to 7 for Blocker, and now here comes the move potentially on Van de Sand as they head to the front straightaway.
Alexander on Altena here for 10th. Altena off in the dirt just a little bit, and Rashad Craig sees opportunity here. And you mentioned Blocker and Van de Sant. Here's that battle.
Then they will go towards turn 1, look to the inside. And Van de Sant let off a little bit early, and I think he knows that Blocker is a man on a mission.
No contest there. Here comes Craig on Altena. Ooh, little fade there from the 11, and it dissuades Craig enough to back out. Nice strategic work there.
Solid job. And we'll get on through.
So I've been watching the lap times, and we'll have them up on the left-hand side of the screen here. Akabueze's been able to make inroads on Treno, just not in huge chunks consistently. So the gap still sits around 3 seconds.
And Akabueze not quite catching up to Brandon Treno, which is kind of surprising. He's only about, I think, about a 10th or 2 quicker.
Yeah, and that lap time he lost everything he gained the previous, so.
Yeah.
Ooh, a little block up for Altena into 12, and that will leave Rashad Craig right on the gearbox.
And the battle not over. Yeah, this is a great group, Alexander, Altena, and Craig. Been fighting all race. Here comes Craig now with the push to pass, trying to make it work for the overtake to the inside. And Altena a little bit deeper. And he'll make it stick a little bit off the line, though, and that's going to compromise him here in turn 2. Craig's also off the line. You can see him. You can visually see the understeer.
Had he just kept it a little bit closer to the racing line, I think he would have had the inside for 3, and that would have probably guaranteed him the pass.
You should look at that from the onboard just to see him collecting the marbles.
You always hate to use a bunch of push to pass on a pass that doesn't work out.
Oh yeah, because it feels like you wasted so much of your resources, the valuable resource. You see right there, goes offline. You see him skate into the marbles, and it just gets worse and worse.
I'll watch that in slow motion. You can see it almost looked like what was it was Max Verstappen at Zandvoort this year when he just had the wheel cranked and it just wouldn't steer.
Look at that.
Good work, iRacing. As if they needed me to sell their product to them anymore.
Yeah, seriously, right?
I always joke that I don't work for iRacing, but man, I feel like I do sometimes. Mark Murphy, David Adams is a battle for 15th place. Nothing at the front is sweetening at the moment, although I think the Altena and Craig battle is yet to completely fizzle, and Jesper Orman running half a second a lap faster than them. I think this will be a 3-horse fight here before too long.
Yeah, he's been a little bit more aggressive on the push pass because I think he feels like, especially with them battle, he can try to catch up and be a threat and maybe get 2 spots for 1, depending on how that battle goes out between them. Still beginning to calm before the storm here. Things have started to settle down a little bit.
Yeah, just over 20 laps to go. And I guess, when are we expecting that final pit stop? We saw pit stops at lap 15, so if we were going to split the race evenly, which I don't think you would do with this tire combination, you would pit in about 5 to 6 laps.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of guys coming around lap 30, around lap 30. So I think 20... I would say, let's see, 29 to 32, we're going to see quite a few pit stops come in as everyone makes their final stop.
Blaze Andrich in the 74 of Adam Blocker. This is for 5th place. Blocker on a mission right now, just ran a pretty solid lap time. That was half a second quicker than the leader, so he's back on the button again.
He's back on. He wants to make up as many spots as he can. He's running only 13 seconds behind the leader.
For all he's been through today, that's not bad.
No, it's really not. And he knows that he wants to try to make up some ground now, especially on some of the drivers up ahead. And let's see, Hamilton Akabueze, he's going to have to go on on the primaries. Nunez, I think, is also in the same boat.
Oh, blocker up the inside
Carrell.
late on Andrich. Almost tagged Blaze there, but backed out.
Man, always catches me sleeping. I think even the drivers on the track as well. He just makes these last-second dives where you almost don't think he's going to make a move. Throws it in there.
I mean, there's a strategy to that.
Oh, 100%.
Be crazy, right? But he's just so good. I mean, it's watching his downshifts. He's nailing those. He's not stressing out the engine or gearbox, but he is engine braking while he's slowing the car down with the foot brake. Here comes up the inside. That was aggressive at turn 10, and he's going to spook Andrich off the racing line, kick it sideways, and steal the spot.
There you always leave him guessing, I guess. Had a blocker. Gets him sliding out there as well. He also was a little bit offline.
Leaving the scene like a James Bond driver. Dylan Altena and Rashad Craig, death taxes and this battle. And, well, it's over in a very anticlimactic way as Altena runs out into the dirt and allows Craig to go by, and well, it's not over, is it? Here it comes back to the inside.
Not over quite yet. And Gregory's into turn 1. Altena will stay ahead, but has a lockup.
In the marbles, and Altena will hang on to it. And now Orman sees an opportunity. Ooh. Big one to see the marble still clearing off Craig, but now Orman's in him. The track is messy right now. It's not helping.
It is messy, and actually Alexander Van de Sande almost got into Pablo Vinicius. Actually almost in the same place where Christian Steele got knocked out of the race. Vinicius went around and Christian Steele got very close, and he was a little bit angry on the radio.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we have shots that will show it to the extent. Maybe that shot there at turn 4. But there, the track is just littered offline. Looks like Sebring after a couple hours.
Oh, God, you can imagine that.
Do we have to imagine that? Can't we just do it?
Even the 24 for that matter, offline, it's going to be sketchy.
Yeah. That's coming up, isn't it?
Oh, it is coming up.
Well, no better time to annually turn on my sim computer than for the 24 hours of Daytona. Brendan Traino leads by 4.3. A lot of gains for him in recent laps. And what a statement this would be in this season to, out of 12 rounds, already claim a quarter of them in the first quarter of the races.
Yeah, he's doing a phenomenal job. I mean, he's doing everything he needs to do. He's been phenomenal from start to finish. So he's doing everything he needs to do to get a championship season going. I think for the rest of the drivers, it's a matter of figuring out how they can combat that and try to find something up on Brandon Traino, because he seems to be impervious on the bigger ovals, the shorter ovals, and the road courses we've had so far.
Yeah, well, this is the only road course we've had so far, and I was just going to mention that it's a pretty even split between the ovals and the road courses here, so if he can win on both, and in a pretty decisive manner, that is a big red flag for everybody else, that they have to find some more speed. Meanwhile, Carroll Stout, Jacob Oster. This is a battle we've seen a couple of times so far today.
I think for Oster, I don't think he actually catch up to Stout, which is interesting on the older tires, but we are towards the end of the second stint. So that's where the primaries start to find a little bit more of an upper edge on the drivers on the alternate, especially if they've been abusing them and pushing them hard. Here he is with the push to pass and looks to the inside. And a bit of a dive, not quite. Stout looked like he might have tried to keep it in there, but decided better of it, and we'll drop back to 8th. Oster up to 7th.
A couple of drivers have made their second pit stop. Blaze Andrich is one, Andrew Wood the other. Was Andrew Wood done pitting?
I don't think so. I think Wood's going to have to come down another more. He's already been in, he's gone 7 now as he crossed the line 8 laps. And then he's definitely gonna have to come in for one more stop, because I think 18, 19 maybe is the limit you can do on fuel.
Front runners
more drivers
on pit lane. Van de Sant, Akabueze. with 17 laps to go.
And for Akwaze, he's going to have to run the rest of this race on the slower primary tires. So he's ran the hardest he can. Now he's got to go run a little bit more conservative now to the end.
Mark Murphy, David Adams, this is for 14th.
They go on the front straightaway, and actually both of them running fairly conservative. Adams deciding to just run off the slipstream, no push to pass to catch back up. Blaze Andrus, though, is actually not on push to pass, but going to try to make a move on Hugo Galaz.
And will complete that pass pretty decisively in the braking zone. Brandon Treno, when do you pit if you're Brandon Treno? You just run this tank out, or do you plan around your tire choice there? He's on the blacks right now. Go back on the reds for the tail end of this race. When do you pit?
I mean, you might as well run the tires out. I mean, the fuel out, sorry. Don't want to run the tires out. But effectively, the tires are set to go to the end of the stint, so really as long as the fuel lasts. So I would say just run the tank to empty. Fill up with just the amount of fuel you'll need. But he's got such a big lead over at least Adam Blocker. And even really, for that matter, Hamilton Akwaze, who should come out in second place, because he's now going to be on the slower tire, and Trainer can run the reds to the end.
Yeah, I don't know if I mean, this is a slightly longer run, so maybe there's an advantage to doing this, but I would have rather been on the stickier tire at the end of the race. I always like taking the blacks in the middle, like Treno has done. I like having the grip at the start. I like having the grip at the end. The middle of the race, I feel like, is more about rhythm, where you'll treat those black tires better anyway.
Yeah, because it really depends on driving style, I think, as well, and how you want to attack the race. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. You know, when you want that grip towards the end, when you start to make moves, you really want to rely on that grip to make some moves. And here we got some battle for position. Not really the drivers in the front. Pablo Vinicius and AJ Musselman are both a lap down. Alton and Craig are fighting for position on the lead lap, so they're being held up.
Alton has fallen back into the clutches of Rashad Craig, and he's way out wide because he's heading to pit lane.
That's a smart move.
Yeah, don't get stuck in the traffic. This is a big topic of discussion, the Lizard Brains 4-hour race. Oh, crash on the front straightaway, and Craig gets launched over the barriers and behind the pit wall in a horrific accident at Indianapolis.
Oh, my.
Wow. That was awful. Who was that went off ahead of?
Musselman that went off. I think he got loose in turn 14, and then, oh, man. Oh.
Was not a fun one, and it just gets loose.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. This is what I was expecting a little bit more. This is, I think, the first accident we've seen where someone completely lost traction, and oh man, that's unfortunate for Craig. He had such a good run.
Gosh, don't was that one?
Yeah, I think it's showing that, be like, maybe consider a fence. Maybe.
Build them 30 stories tall. This could look like a freaking Topgolf at some point, just with all the netting and fencing around everything. Oh man, that was a good joke. The Topgolf one. Sorry, that was a good joke. I can very much visually see what it would look like. Anyway, I'll pat myself on the back for that one, and we'll carry on. Van de Sant leads the way as Treno has elected to come in for the final time on this lap 33.
Getting some service on the reds, off to go to the end. Van de Sant will stay in the lead for now, though he has to pit. Seb Alexander has to pit. And trying to see how far Treno is to Akwaze. Actually, not that far.
Yeah, Akwaze is going to end up about where he was before, about 3.5 seconds back, maybe a little closer.
Yeah, but the issue is, and I think to many people's dismay, is we expect the gap to separate. On this run, yeah, Nunez and Burrell are both on primaries. Walker, though, he's shark in the water. He's smelling blood. He's smelling drivers on the primary tire up ahead of him. He's going to try to chase them down. And should also know there are a lot of drivers with a lot of push to pass remaining.
Saving it all up for the last couple laps so they'll have nobody around them.
Yeah, as far as the leaders.
Sorry.
The leaders,
he hasn't done a broadcast in 2 months. He's feeling real bold calling out drivers for their decisions. I have too much fun. Sorry, guys. I haven't done a broadcast with Finian in a long time. This has been fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's a driver with a rear wing hanging off the back. Who's the number 12?
That's Alex Ball, and he has had probably not much of a ball because he got contacted on the pit in.
Oh, yeah. I think Van Ascent felt he was going a little bit too slow there.
Oops. Oh. That's no fun.
Yeah, also, actually, Van Ascent got away with damage to his front wing for that.
Treno officially has retaken the lead. Akabueze is now 4.3 back, which is a bigger gap than there was. Kevin Burrell and Adam Blocker are going to fight for fourth.
Yeah, and Van Ascent actually decided to take the extra 5 seconds to replace the wing on pit lanes. That's going to cost him 5 seconds on the racetrack. As we look at Adam Blocker, looking as he's inside the top 5, trying to break further on in. Run through the chicane on Kevin Burrell, battle for fourth.
Kind of impressed with this recovery drive for Blocker. We knew he was fast. It's not over yet for sure, but I don't think a podium's out of the question.
No, definitely not. I mean, Nunes is only 3.2 seconds up the road, especially with the change in tire compounds, the different tire compounds. I think this is going to be fairly set in stone for Blocker. I think it's really his race to lose, at least for the podium at this point, unless Nunes can really put on a clinic and try to break away from the 74.
Other battles that are sort of cooling off now, Jacob Oster and Blaze Andrich, but time being, again, the focus is out front, and Akabueze is not making any inroads here. We didn't expect him to, but the gap is growing. 5.4.
What I actually want to talk about is Jacob Oster. He's had a really good drive today so far. Started in 28th. Wow. Yeah,
How did he do that?
He's just been slowly working his way up. We talked about him near the back, near the middle, now towards the front, and I think he's just keeping his nose clean, keeping himself on the racetrack, and just been getting in good times. He's not been, I think, the most action-filled race for him. He's made a couple of passes here and there, but just good strategy, keeping himself out of harm's way, and just getting his head down and going to business. So a solid drive for the 16. Gotta commend him on that. Flew under the radar.
Done a great job. If with Kevin Burrell, again, it was a little off last time by, but if he can even run down, 7-second gap is a lot, but not out of the question, I think, with 11 laps to go and the differential that we saw last time by. Harold Stout and Alexander Van de Sant. Remember, we just saw the wing get replaced on the 96, so that car should be back up to full song.
Yeah, he's trying to make up again for that lost 5 seconds. So effectively was ahead of Stout now, so work back around him again as the tire advantage, but of course not set in stone, especially at this point in the race. A lot less give and a lot more take for these drivers at this stage of the race. And there you go. I see the scoring lining up in green with the push-to-pass usage increasing.
Van de Sant on the outside of turn 1. That was a bold move. It might pay off if he can keep it stuck here to the inside and push Carroll offline, and he will do just that.
You gotta be very careful, I think, getting around the drivers on the primaries on the outside, because if they push it too hard, we saw earlier a driver getting pushed off the racetrack.
And Blocker has caught Nunes. I don't anticipate this taking very long.
No, I don't either. And I think for Nunes, I don't know if he thinks it'll take long either.
Thought we might see the surprise dive into 12. We did not.
Yeah, I think Blocker was definitely thinking about it, heading towards there. But I think at this point he's got to consider, is it really worth it? And Nunes struggling a little bit in turn 14, so the back end step out just a hair. And here comes Blocker, using up his push pass. Nunes also trying to use his push passing. That's the only thing he's got to defend. Goes all the way to the wall. Blocker going to make a late dive, a late send. Can he keep it on the track?
No.
Slight lock up. He will barely.
Wow, I did not think that car had enough lateral grip to stay on the road. It hardly did. And Nunes is on the outside now, offline. That's going to be a really tough line to hold, and Blocker will grab the spot back.
Yeah, I think Blocker really wanted to make sure he didn't have to stay in behind at least one more lap. I think he's definitely eyeing up a chance of trying to catch Hamilton Akabueze, but that's a tall order. What we got, just about 10 laps to go, and 10 seconds. That might be asking a little bit too much. If there's any driver that can do it in the field, I would probably say it would be Adam Blocker. So we'll definitely see if he's up for the task, either him or Treno.
look, in the last 10 minutes or so of this race, Brandon Traino has led of the 38 laps that we have completed, 31. He has been the dominant force, not only in this race, but in this season. Hamilton Akabueze has led none, running in second most of the day, although he was third for a little while before Christian Steele had an incident with the 42, Apollo Vinicius, earlier.
The Christian Steele's also probably wondering what could have been had he not gotten taken out. That was unfortunate. Because he was keeping really good pace with Traino that first stint.
And he's not had, he's only run one race so far. That was at Worldwide Technology Raceway, I believe. And that didn't really go all that well for him, I don't think.
No,
Top 10.
And I mean, it went all right. But again, when you put in the picture, the frame of a championship fight, you really need to step it up, especially for what Traino's starting to do this season.
Yeah, top 10 ain't going to cut it when your competitors are winning everything.
But we saw something similar last season, too. Well, we didn't actually see it because we couldn't broadcast the first half of the last season due to reasons, licensing reasons. But Traino dominated the first part of the season, and he fell off in the second part. That's where Steele started to pick up, but he kind of didn't execute the last couple races, and that's where Traino came back, secured the championship. So anything can happen. The season's still young, but if a driver is going to step up to make a championship fight, they have to now. And here's Akabueze working past a lap car.
Jesper Orman and Andrew Marquez. This is for 12th, about a second between these two, but I'm keeping an eye on the pace of that 63, and it was fairly rapid last time by in comparison to Orman. And Orman is on the red tire, but it doesn't seem like it's doing him a lot of good at the moment.
No, and he pitted a little bit earlier, so Marcus got some slightly fresher tires, which I think is definitely working in the 63's favor. Of course, we always say passing is one thing, catching is one thing, casting is another.
Casting's one thing.
Casting is one thing.
Catching is another.
So cast another.
I mean, that works. It's a fishing metaphor too. Casting's one thing, catching's another.
Should trademark that.
I don't think I can.
Next time you're on the Astro broadcast, find some way to incorporate that.
I'm not sure if you ever saw this clip, Finian, but there was a clip of, we saw drivers clipping the grass out of turn 14 a bunch.
Yeah.
You see that clip that I shared out of the weekend where it was like, one of the drivers has an underwear brand, and Calvin was just asking me, he's like, Kyle, you changed a bunch of these things in your life. You bought an Apple iPhone. Have you ever tried Kyle Washington's underwear? And he goes, no, not his underwear, but his underwear brand. And right as he was saying that, one of the drivers in a Porsche ran out into the dirt. And I said, well, I haven't tried his underwear, but I know someone who might need some new ones. And I thought that was great.
That was great.
Shining moment. If you're looking for that, good luck, but it's in the pre-qualifying broadcast of the 88 hours, so only about an hour and a half to scrub through if you want that clip.
Hopefully first of many.
That was such a fun thing to do. Anyway, here comes Alexander Van de Sant up Blaze Ondrich's gearbox here. Closing down the last few minutes of this race. 6 laps, a little side-by-side action here.
Oh, it's still side-by-side. Oh, and I was just about to say it might get ugly. Some wheel-to-wheel action in the wrong way as Andrews goes sideways. Looks like the car is undamaged. Nope, I say that. He definitely has some damage.
Tight quarters here.
There's the contact. Was some net code, but Andrews is probably not going to care much about that. I think he's going to have to pit.
And he will.
Yeah, he's got a meatball.
Yeah, there was some wing damage, then that left rear tire took a pretty good clout.
Yeah, I saw him struggling to steer. You can see him crabbing if you look at him come down the pit lane. He's coming down sideways.
There's some damage done to that car. That will end a pretty solid run that he was having, unfortunately. Seb Alexander and Carroll Stout are about to have a little scrap here for 8th place.
As we talked about, we saw right there a lot less give and a lot more take from these drivers as we head into the final stages of this race. We might see something similar potentially between Stout and Alexander as this battle heats up.
Andrew Marquez and Orman. I pointed this battle out a little while ago, and it was heating up, but Marquez just got in the marbles at turn 4 and gave up all the time that he had just gained. Commentator curse. 5 laps to go for Brandon Traino. Back to this fight for 8th place, Stout and Alexander.
Alexander all over the rear, trying to catch back up. You see him struggling to get back on the power, and again, he is on the faster tire, but it's all a matter of getting there and executing. Just under 50 seconds to put pass remaining. Stout a little bit more at his disposal.
I found the box that number is contained in. That's useful for me.
Ah.
Not in the timing on the dashboard.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, you didn't have this entire time?
I just didn't know where to look. Now I see it. Counting down. Yellow box. 3rd from the left. we were joking the other day. There was a livery, Tom McGorman and I, there was a livery on one of the cars that was like a collage of a bunch of images, and I was joking it was like an Excel document, like B3, you know, and Tom's like, you hit my battleship. It was like just a comedy of different metaphors all smashing together.
Well, hopefully these two don't go smashing together.
Man. Things you can't say on broadcast.
Hey, not in that way. Get your mind out of it.
No, that's not what I meant. I can just imagine just Calvin Fish just hope these guys don't crash. It's just so nonchalant. Oh boy.
That's why I'm not paying the big bucks.
They don't pay me the big bucks either. Somebody should figure out who's getting paid the big bucks.
Calvin Fish probably.
I don't even know if he does. Rick Allen.
Yeah, probably. I'm actually curious.
Lee Diffie, probably, actually.
Yes. Yes.
Jeff, you little boy, has done it.
I never would have thought I would ever hear his voice for NASCAR, but it is
good.
so.
I
it's
love
so good.
everything that he says. I don't think his voice is the right one for the sport, but I think I wish he just wasn't. You know what I mean? He's really good at what he does. It's NASCAR. You know what I mean? So it's just a little odd.
Add that to the list of things you cannot say.
I know. I'm not going to get canceled. I like him. I wouldn't replace him with anybody different.
Oh man.
He wasn't it. Yeah. Anyway, Jay Ray Bay was saying Calvin might not be the richest, but he has the most natural swag. True.
Yes.
This dude, God, I am so lucky to know that guy. He's so cool. He's the coolest guy ever. You know, he'll just the jokes that he'll crack that are really kind of off the cuff and kind of sly. He'll just kind of creep into his little smile. It's really good. Anyway,
this is awesome that you got a chance to work with him.
Yeah, I mean that guy's unbelievable, and I hope to work with him a little bit more this season. We'll see. 2 laps to go for Brandon Traino. 10-second advantage. Carroll Stout and Seb Alexander. We've been watching this fight start to heat up, and someone's about to throw some flames on the fire. Big understeer for Alexander, though.
Whoa! And even more as he's getting off into the grass. The thing is, though, he's about to lose some of that fire. He's only got 19 seconds to push. To pass remaining, Stout 50. That's going to help in his defense.
Peter Galaz and Andrew Wood. Andrew Wood, again, with an extra pit stop today, has managed to 17th at the moment.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he had some issues earlier on that I didn't catch. I was questioning that extra pit stop he made. To me, that very early on, I think he was trying to see maybe if he ran, he just ran a quick stint on the primaries, got them out the way, went to alternates the rest, he can make it up. But yeah, the extra pit stop, that's an extra 50-some-odd seconds on pit lane. That costs a lot. That's a lot to make up on the track.
Well, lesson learned. I think when we go to Road America in a couple of weeks, it's not going to be the same strategy, likely. But Brandon Traino has played this season to perfection so far. He's only got about 2.5 miles before he'll likely collect his 3rd victory of 3 possible victories on the season. White flag, 1 lap to go at Indianapolis.
Yeah, 1 more to go, and pretty much a textbook perfect race. I think he led, if not every lap, almost every lap of this race.
All but 6.
Yes.
Oh, Andrew Wood and Galaz get together, and here comes Oster.
Oh.
In 6th place, right into it, coming to the white flag lap.
That is so unfortunate. We just talked about Oster having such a fantastic day.
There's nowhere to go. He was already committed. That is catastrophic. And I don't know that car, he'll limp it around and try to save a 10th or 9th.
I mean, you can definitely salvage something out of it, but it's going to be a lap of nursing that car on home. He'll actually get a top 10 out of this. Altona is 8 seconds back, but he's going to probably be a little bit annoyed that he could have been a 6th place finish.
Alexander Van de Sant will take that. Stout and Alexander will move up one as well. But for Brandon Traino, wins at the early events at Worldwide Technology Raceway in Homestead, Miami. But we head back to the home of IndyCar. Brandon Traino is going to go 3 for 3 at IMS. Checkered flag. Traino wins round 3 of the Catalyst 317 Indy Elite Series.
Excellent execution for Traino and the number 9 machine. Hamilton Akawaze coming across the line. A very solid 2nd place for him. Good day in the office. And Adam Blocker with the recovery drive after his troubles on the opening laps. Comes back, will round out the podium in 3rd.
Nicely done for Blocker. Luis Nunez in 4th place. Kevin Burrell in 5th. Didn't talk a lot about him today, but 8th to 5th. Nice run there. Alexander Van de Sant had a pretty exciting day, as low as 16th on the board. P6 with that late race incident for Jacob Oster. Errol Stout 7th, Seb Alexander 8th. Oster is going to make it back to 9th. Altona is a little too far back to steal it away.
And nurse that damaged car, the nose hanging off the side. He will bring it back at 9th. That's a solid job. I mean, could have been a whole lot worse.
Looks like the Pinocchio. Oh gosh, might as well finish it off now, huh?
Yeah, I was going to say it's a write-off anyway.
Yeah. A lot of attrition late in the going there. There's about a dozen cars, not quite a dozen, about 10 that were out by the end of this one. Blaze Andrich, Alexander Ball, Rashad Craig, AJ Musselman, Wayne Hunter, Lorenzo Bonder, Christian Steele, Joe Branch, Greg Forsyth, and Tim Holgate. But this driver had the opposite day, led almost all the laps, and won pretty handily by 9.6 seconds.
Yep. I think it's going to be the still first of many this season for Traino, unfortunately, the way things are headed.
Unfortunately for everybody else.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for everyone else. He has this thing dialed in.
Don't get to do this a lot. Stop just shy of the yard of bricks and celebrate with a burnout, not on the bricks, thankfully. Oh. They take your trophy away, I hear. Whoa. Oh. Julian Altona doing another lap. Brandon Traino gets it done. Let's have a quick look at the race results before we chat with our top 3. There's a look at your top 10, Finian, and a couple drivers that just snuck in there under the radar. I think I mentioned Kevin Burrell. Jesper Orman, top 10.
Yeah, there's a top 10 for him at the later going. Where did
Oster ended up 12th because of, I assume, not serving a penalty of some sort?
Oh, because he had the meatball.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's unfortunate. I always kind of hate that.
No fun.
But you can't just finish the race. It's like, hey, the car is still drivable.
Yeah, no fun.
Yeah. Back down to the blacks. Yeah, that's what I was wondering where he ended up off the boards. Yeah, so Orban will place him in the top 10. Marquez, then Oster in 12th. Then David Adams, Mark Murphy, Chris Stouffer, Hugo Galaz, Paolo Vinicius, Andrew Wood, we saw just at the end, had a potentially decent run going, but got involved with Galaz, so he'll finish in 18th, Laverne 19th, and Blaze Andrich in 20th.
And looking down the rest of the order here, here's drivers that did not finish the race. Alexander Ball, we saw have an issue. Rashad Craig involved in a collision. AJ Musselman also in a big way at the exit of turn 14. Wayne Hunter, Lorenzo Bonder just had their separate issues. Christian Steele caught up in a crash pretty early on. Joe Branch, Forsyth, and Holgate also out. Adam Blocker had an exciting day, starting in 2nd, and the first 10 laps were exciting to watch. I'm sure not a lot of fun to participate in, Adam, but you rebounded somehow for a P3 and salvaged a day out of it. Take us through it.
Yeah, I mean, first I think I had the potential to get pole. I made a mistake in turn 13, but it was, it's going to be really close between Brandon and I. And then, yeah, everyone else started on blacks around me, reds. And so I knew that the start was going to be tough, and I had to just arrive, and I didn't. I got kind of thrown off when Steele almost crashed into Traino in turn 1, and so then I got checked up, and I ended up in a bad spot and lost a lot of spots on the first lap. And then the new iRacing marbles caught me out on lap 2. I was just trying to set up a move on Julian and got out there and I spun. I'm still getting used to that. But yeah, so I was like P20th and just dug my way through the field and had some interesting moments doing it, but I was surprised and happy to get back to P3s.
Yeah, looking long-term as far as the championship is concerned, obviously Treno's had a really solid start to the season. Won a quarter of the races in the championship. What do you change as a team to try to advance forward and try to take down that number 9?
Well, I mean, both of the races I've done, I could have won. I just, bad strategy at Gateway and, mistakes here. So just execute is basically what we have to do. So
execute. Adam Blocker, P3, podium at Indianapolis. Adam, thanks.
Yep, thanks.
Brandon Treno comes home with a 3rd win on the season. First Homestead, then Gateway, then here at IMS. Brandon, it's always special to win on the road course and the oval, but today just didn't really leave anything on the table for anybody. Took the lead early and really never looked back.
Yeah, it was a good race. Guys brought a great car, really consistent. Was able to double up on the alternates, which a lot of people may not have been able to do. I don't know. I didn't look at strategy too much. But yeah, just really solid race, really clean race. A little chaotic at the start, but got through it and brought home the win.
Yeah, and take me through also, Adam mentioned the change to the iRacing marbles. That was a much bigger deal, I think, than we were expecting tonight. Of course, you spent most of your time on the racing line. Did you get to experience that at all, and what was it like?
I had a couple moments just being a little bit wide off of corners. Made it a little bit easier to kind of run wide into the following corner. Particularly the fast chicane down the backstretch and then into that left-hander. If you run too wide through the initial chicane, it kind of carried the marbles all the way down that straightaway into the next corner. So it was kind of sketchy under braking there, but other than that, it was pretty good. I didn't really run offline too much, so can't really say for certain. But it's an interesting addition for sure. That I think is something that we needed for a long time, and hopefully comes into play on the ovals.
Brandon Treno wins here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 3 for 3 so far this season. Brandon, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks guys, appreciate it.
Thank you. Wow, that was a fun race. Good to be back on the road courses and good to kind of see the tires and the changes that iRacing has made play out pretty naturally here, Finian. So an interesting day. I wonder if we'll get some weather at some point this season as well. Does the IndyCar have rain tires yet? You're muted.
Yeah, unfortunately it does not. Yeah, unfortunately it does not. I'm really looking forward to when they get there. Hopefully, there's a small chance we can get it maybe in the next update before the season's over, but gotta be fingers crossed.
Well, that is going to do it for us tonight here from Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Kyle Heyer and Finian Nakuna bringing you the action. We'll see you again next week. We're headed off to Texas Motor Speedway for the Blackmagic Studios 250, 167 laps there. Been a pleasure to be back with Indy Elite Series after my absence was a little longer than Finian's, so we'll see you next time here next Sunday for the next continuation of this championship.